Hi there, I'm Paul Scheele. Welcome back or welcome aboard to the second session of our 6-session series. How are you doing? This is Brilliant Health Session 2. Have you found some small steps that you could take to be in charge of your health and wellness? What concrete indicators of success have you noticed? Anything small that says, yeah, I'm headed in the right direction. How have you changed the way that you're using your concentration, your imagination, and your suggestion to improve the possibilities for brilliant health? And were you able to listen to paraliminals to assist you? How was that? Pretty cool technology, isn't it? Well, this session is about finding emotional balance and well-being. We're going to be looking at how we can overcome feelings of overwhelming pressures, how our tendency to resist change actually keeps us stuck. What are 4 rapid changes that can instantly affect your state of body and mind? And we're going to also look at working with anxiety, which is an emotion of the future, and shame or guilt, which is an emotion of the past. We're also going to be looking at capacity building, strategies to increase your resilience and handle more than you might have ever imagined possible. We're going to begin, as we have in our previous session, with something that I call the drop-in. This is going to help us get centered. It's going to put us in the ideal learning mode with a relaxed body and a clear, aware mind. So if you can, grab a drink of water, take a little sip of it. No need for a full glass. If you can keep hydrated throughout the day, that's great. We'll be talking about that more in just a bit. Then find a comfortable place where you could sit back and place your feet on the floor and your hands resting on your lap, either palms down or palms up. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, close your eyes and become aware of the space that your body is occupying. Withdraw your awareness from the busyness of the day, everything you might have done to get ready for this session. Just settle in to this awareness of yourself, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. See if you can let your shoulders drop a bit. Let them relax. Imagine smoothing out the muscles of your forehead and relaxing around your eyes, cheeks, and jaw. Get a slight hint of a smile at the corners of your eyes and the corners of your mouth. It's remarkable how much research has actually been devoted to the effects of smiling. Tremendous positive effect. And finally, notice the rhythm and flow of your breathing, especially as you feel the touch of it in your nostrils. As you exhale and inhale, see if you can have your breaths flow without interruption. One continuous cycle of exhaling and inhaling. No pauses, no jerks, no hesitations. Smooth, even transitions. And see if the duration of the exhale and inhale can become balanced. You're aware of this energetic presence that you are. You have the physical body, subtler field of energy surrounding it is the emotional body. The subtler field around that is the mental body. And we're going to be working with the mental and emotional body in this session. And then finally, a subtler field of energy still. We could call it the spiritual body, that presence and power that you are that inhabits this beautiful body, mind, this human experience that you're enjoying. And it's our work together to help release from inside of you brilliant health in all dimensions of your existence. Imagine the benefits of this session. And what it will be like for you to be enjoying greater emotional and mental balance in all aspects of your life. Maintaining an awareness of that relaxed breath flowing in your nostrils, gently rub your hands together, make them nice and warm, bring your hands to your face and open your eyes to the palms of your hands. Slowly draw your hands away from your face and into the room around you. So that's our drop-in process, get you in the ideal state for the work that we're about to engage in. Let's talk for a moment about this idea of overwhelm. We all have pressures. There are stresses that have their influence in our lives. The effects that we feel and call stress, we could also say it's nervousness, it's anxiety, it's pressure of some kind, timelines, deadlines, whatever it might be. But it's those feelings of overwhelm that have a tendency to shut down our best resources. Let me show you a chart really quickly here about the effects of overwhelm. What you'll notice in this chart is that any incoming information is going to be negatively affected. So our attention, our perception, our thinking and decision making, our memory, they're all going to be negatively affected when our cognitive and physical systems are under duress, when they're being stressed to the point of what we would call overwhelm. Now, most of us, when faced with this kind of a situation, are just going to have a tendency to push through. I just got to deal with it. I've got to go. Or it's going to take us over and it's going to incapacitate us. And what we would like to be able to do is find a way to win regardless of what's going on in the world around us. One of my professors during my doctoral program talked about whitewater, that when you're in a raft and going down whitewater in a river, there's a lot of turbulence. Well, our society is delivering a lot of turbulence, a lot of disruptive change. And we're hoping that one day we'll get through that section of the rapids where things aren't so turbulent. But what he talked about is called permanent whitewater. This is the new normal. This is as good as it gets. And while we can hope and anticipate that we'll make it through the tough times so we can get a vacation, we can retire, we can finally find peace and calm, the truth is that these days we can't expect that. What we do expect is that change, oftentimes disruptive and catastrophic change, will be a part of our lives or the lives of those that we care about. So it's what we do while we're in it. Most of us are programmed that if we find a way to win, what we're going to do is reproduce that way of winning. And if we reproduce that way of winning again, we should win again. If we reproduce that again and lose, we think, who moved my cheese, right? How come I'm no longer getting the result? It must be the economy. It must be something going on in the government. It must be my crazy family members, whatever it might be. It's something outside of me. It's changed the way I have the ability to win. Well, it's that linear progression of winning that's the problem. The most successful organisms in the universe that we've been able to study have a very different pattern called adaptive change. And that's win, shift, find another way to win. When you shift from there, find another way to win. And when you shift from there and lose, what you have is a number of winning strategies that you can fall back on. So imagine it this way. As one part of your life is shifting, you're enjoying success here, invest part of that success in finding additional resources, additional options. So anytime you can use your creativity to find more creativity, ideal. Anytime you can take a part of your income and invest it in future possibilities, ideal. Anytime you can take a bit of that sleep time that you have, that rest time that you have, and think about how you can expand into the rest of your life with this sense of balance, you're investing your mind and your emotions and your physicality to get to where you want to go. So that pattern of win shift is what I'm encouraging you in doing. We have a paraliminal called letting go, and essentially it has a process called the triple welcoming. Hale Dwoskin of the Sedona method has developed a process that when something catastrophic happens, he said, don't resist it because what you resist persists. Instead, welcome it. And the 3 welcomes are essentially welcome this feeling just the way it is, without a need to change it. Secondly, welcome the thought and the feeling. You got to do something about it. Just welcome that. And finally, welcome the thought that this is a bad reflection on you, or this reflects on you personally somehow. Because if you think about it, when something happens in your world, those are the last 3 things we want to do. We don't want to accept it, we don't want to have to do anything about it, and we don't want to think that it's about us or that we caused it. So as long as we're resisting that, then all of the emotions and all the stress are on us. We need to let them go. So here's the process. Think about something right now that you've been resisting, some anxiety, shame, guilt, fear issue in your life. Close your eyes for a moment and just ask yourself, could I just welcome the feeling just as it is, just for fun and just for now? Could I just welcome it? Secondly, could I welcome that feeling or that thought that I've got to do something about this? Thirdly, can I just welcome that thought or feeling that this is about me somehow? Taking it personally. Can you just welcome that? And now, could you just let it all go? And open your eyes. And when you think about that issue, notice that there's a little shift in how you represent it. Now, you haven't really done anything to change it, but you've let go of that resistance, and you're now in the energy where something can be done if you need to. Sometimes not doing is the best thing as well. Just letting it be, letting it come to pass. So all of your options become much more available to you through this process of the triple welcoming, or as we bring it to you in a paraliminal experience called letting go. We also have a paraliminal called overcoming overwhelm. Since that's our topic right now, is about overwhelm, that particular paraliminal really helps drain the stress out of the body. And when you do that, what happens is your sensory systems come back online. Because as I showed you in that chart, it tends to narrow our options when we're under stress, right? We're in that state of overwhelm. We tend to live in kind of a tunnel vision, tunnel focus. But when we let go, when we open, we now bring our sensory systems back online. We can see new choices and options that we hadn't perceived before, which then gives us new actions that we can take. And so that process leads us to a state of brilliance, because we are able to operate in ways that the rest of the folks in our environment aren't able to. There's a law called the law of requisite variety, also known as the law of requisite flexibility. It says in any system you may be functioning in, the element of that system that has the most choices or options is always the controlling element of that system. So you think of yourself in the system of your work life and your family life and your society. If you have choices, you can control the results, the actions, the feelings that you have in your life. Now, my wife likes to say control is an illusion, but what I'm saying is you can ride the waves in whatever turbulence is going on, right? So to find emotional balance when you need it, certainly use the paraliminal technology. I'd also like to offer you how to tap into something very quickly wherever you are. And these are 4 rapid changes that you can make to instantly affect your body. Now, I actually introduced these to you in the first session, so I'd like to share those with you again right now. The first is to stand up, hydrate, and stretch. I got to run back and get my water. So stand up, grab a drink of water again, and now take a little stretch. You know, you can stretch out a little bit, right? Just stretch out. You can stretch over your head, lean a little bit. Anything like this is going to be particularly helpful. Rotate your shoulders, any kind of stretch, perfect. Next thing, we want to do some movement. This could be agitate, it could be yoga, it could be qigong, it could be all kinds of different movements. Last time, I showed you what was called the cross crawl. So I'm going to show you the next step of this series. After doing the cross crawl, and do it with me, now you do the opposite arm and leg. The tendency is to do the same side, but this is getting you to cross the midline. You see that? So doing that, great exercise, balances the hemispheres of the brain, very helpful. Last time I showed you something called EFT tapping. I'm going to give you another tap that you can do right now. And it's that place, try to zoom in on this, right where the eyebrow center is. And you can tap either on one side with 2 fingers or on both sides like that, okay? So as you're tapping, you think of an affirmation that's going to assist you. Even in the condition of overwhelm, you can repeat this with me. Even in the condition of overwhelm, I have a place of balance within. Like the center hub of a wheel, as I go to the center, I find slow movement and calm. I'm going to that calm now. Simple tap. As you remove your hands from that, just notice the energy. It's really shifted in your body. Super helpful, really quick. The final piece of this, so we stood up, hydrated, and stretched. We've done some movement. We've done some tapping. The final step, the 4th step, is dropping in. Now, I've showed this to you. We've played with it a couple of times. And I want to explain one more aspect of this. We'll do a drop-in session a little bit later. So imagine the brain itself. We've got the old brain. It's called the reptilian complex. And this is the cerebellum on the back, the reptilian complex. This is really associated with our physical body. It really is a lot of our instinctual control mechanisms. It's the same part of the brain we share with everything that's crawling around on the planet, right? Surrounding that is what's called the mammalian or limbic system. This is the place of emotions. That's why emotions tend to affect our body so quickly. Have a strong emotion, boom. Have a pain of some kind, boom. It goes right into the amygdala, it goes into that core of the midbrain, and it has an instantaneous effect throughout our body. Surrounding that is what we call the thinking brain. It's called the new brain or neocortex, with the left and right hemispheres of the brain. And so this part of the brain, which is supposedly the thinking brain, also gives us access to tremendous numbers of resources throughout our entire history, much of which is not available to us consciously. We call it the non-conscious. So the database of the non-conscious mind outweighs the database of your conscious mind by 10 billion to 1. So if you could imagine that a little circle of 12 inches that you're standing in right now is in the center of a circle 11 miles across. This 12 inches is your conscious mind. The 11 miles is your non-conscious mind. So the right hemisphere of the brain is that part of us, the neocortex, that gives us access to those further resources. Now, at the very front part of your neocortex, what's called the prefrontal cortex, is the place that researchers have called the God spot. This is a place of unitive neural wiring, synchronous neural wiring that literally connects to every aspect of our body simultaneously. That place actually enlarges when you're meditating. So what we know is that our perception of the big picture, that ability to think of a future that's never existed, that seems to be located in the very same place as the executive function of our being resides. And so I'll call that spiritual intelligence, which a lot of scholarship talks about. And then we could talk about SQ, right, spiritual intelligence. We could talk about IQ, which is the neocortex. Could talk about EQ, which is the emotional intelligence. And we can talk about PQ, which is physical intelligence. And it's these four intelligences that you're working with in our series together. It's also going to be helpful for you to gain skills in purposefully accessing each one of these intelligences. So to the best of your ability, you're going to be able to make a quick shift in any experience of overwhelm, stress, or mental imbalance by doing these simple steps. Number 1, stand up, hydrate, and stretch. Number 2, some movements. Number 3, some tapping of some kind. And finally, dropping in to connect with the further resources within you, the real source within you. Now, I'd like to move to a special case of stress-producing overwhelm, and that's the case of anxiety on one hand and shame or guilt on the other hand. So think about anxiety as being an emotion of the future. Anxiety is produced in our body when we imagine a future situation in which we're not going to have the resources to deal with it. I'm worried about it. I'm going to get there, and what's going to happen? Bad things could happen. Well, it's the neocortex is going to send a signal to the mammalian brain, and it's immediately going to go into the reptilian brain. We're going to downshift into fight or flight. A feeling of anxiety is going to create that right away. How do we do that? It's actually a voluntary act of imagining a future in which we're not going to have the resources to manage. So what I'm going to invite you to do is imagine being beyond the time when you've already successfully accomplished what it is you're looking to do. Not how you're going to get there, but having already done it. And then from that place in the future, looking back and seeing how it actually occurred. And then you can add strategies to you from that feeling place of knowing that you've already arrived. Do you get how that works? It's an amazing way of working with the brain to make an immediate shift. And one of the paraliminals that we have for that is called exactly that, anxiety-free. Takes you through that process. Now, on the other hand, I talked about shame or guilt. Shame or guilt are emotions of the past. So in the past, you did something screwed up. And every time that imagined screw up comes into consciousness, you feel it. You feel it as a drop in energy. You feel it as a feeling of frustration or depression. Very common for us to do that to ourselves. So why would we do that? What's the adaptive benefit of having feelings of guilt or shame? Especially if we've grown up in a society that shames us for the way we behave or puts guilt trips on us for having screwed up, then it's a way of manipulating us. And we just continue that manipulation on ourselves by bringing in these emotions to make sure we will never do that bad thing ever again. Well, imagine now that you could go into the past, but before the time in which the event, shame-producing, guilt-producing event occurred. And if you go before that event and ask yourself, knowing what I now know, coming up to this situation, would I have done that? Or would I choose to do it differently if a similar situation occurs? The answer is no, I would have done it differently. But how could you have known then that those would be the ramifications of that behavior? You only knew that after the fact. You said, oh man, I should have never done that, right? So if you go back before the time and envision a fresh start in which you could enter your life without the shame or guilt and choose moment by moment to live your life the way you want to live it, how would you then be? And that's actually available to you. Shame and guilt do not need to be a part of your life any more than anxiety needs to be a part of your life. If they show up, they're just signals, right? The symptom is a signal telling you, hey, this is a place where you're giving away your power. Here you can reclaim it. Think of it this way. We can only do the best our current awareness permits. So you're really always doing the best you can. It's only in hindsight that you can say, I could do better now. Well, yeah, now you can, but could you have then? If you really beat yourself up, you say, yeah, I should have known better. No, that's shitting on yourself. Don't do it. Don't go there, right? Be your own best friend. So the paraliminal that I would recommend for getting a fresh start is by that title. And I recorded it with a colleague of ours named Bill Harris from Centerpoint Research. So anxiety-free on one hand, fresh start paraliminal on the other. These are going to help you really live in a state of mental balance and well-being, emotional well-being on an ongoing basis. Now, in addition to this, I'd like to talk about capacity building, which is to increase our resilience so that when those catastrophic and disruptive changes in the world come to us, we don't get crushed by them, we don't become victims of them. And so there are a number of things that I do that is out in the current literature today you can read more about. I'd like to share some of those with you. First of all, first and foremost is meditation, and probably most popular is the simplest form of that called mindfulness meditation. It's dropping in, essentially, and maintaining that state as you open your eyes and walk through the world. A feeling of peace. You could become aware of that movement of breath in your nostrils with your eyes open as you walk through the world. Relaxed in the shoulders, breathing just so, smile on your face, aware of the breath. That kind of mindfulness allows you to be relaxed and alert wherever you are. It has profound benefits to the body. And if you go beyond just the meditation aspects and look at yoga which is the tradition of meditation that I follow, Himalayan yoga. We have a course by that called Meditate with the Himalayan Masters, but this talks about 21 health reasons to do yoga. That's physical yoga, the actual hatha yoga movement sorts of things. Number 1, improves flexibility. 2, increases balance. 3, fends off weight gain. How cool is that? Supercharges the brain. As little as 30 minutes of yoga increases memory and focus, it says. Soothes stress, reduces depression, protects your heart, promotes better sleep, eases back pain, boosts body confidence, relieves headaches, lessens inflammation, helps breathing, slows aging, encourages exercise. They found that people who did twice weekly yoga for 10 weeks tended to do more exercise, increases aerobic capacity, eases cancer recovery, fights incontinence, improves your workday, curbs neck pain, controls diabetes. I mean, the research is in. It's something that's quite amazing. Listen to the statistics of how many people are doing yoga. 1 in 9 Americans have embraced yoga. 36 million estimated Americans practice yoga. 80% increase in yoga over the last 5 years. 39% of those who participate in yoga are over 50 years old. That would be me. $16 billion was spent in 2016 on yoga classes, clothing, and accessories. There are 76,000 registered teachers, 3.5 million followers of the Yoga Journal. 65% of those who do yoga do it out of their own home. So listen, this is something that you could do anytime, wherever you are. Got it? Play with it. I hope to film a little segment of my morning routine. I'll describe it in a moment, but I'd also like you to be able to see what I do. Another thing that you can do to build capacity, strategies to increase your resilience, is gratitude, especially if you can keep a gratitude journal. A lot of benefits from this. University of California, Davis, and the Mississippi University for Women showed that organ recipients who kept gratitude journals scored better on measures of mental health and general well-being than those who kept only routine notes about their days. Patients with asymptomatic heart failure who journaled about their gratitude experienced better mood, better sleep, less fatigue, less inflammation. That was from the University of California in San Diego. And the lead author, Dr. Paul Mills, said, "It seemed that a more grateful heart is indeed a more healthy heart, and that gratitude journaling is an easy way to support cardiac health." And I'll say, extend that, because it's going to be health in general. Couples who recorded their feelings of appreciation for their partner's actions boosted happiness, romance, and satisfaction in their relationships. And the author said, the little things may make a big difference within the daily lives of individuals in romantic relationships. I'll vouch for that. My wife and I have been married 40 years now. Gratitude may help to turn ordinary moments into opportunities for relationship growth, even in the context of already close communal relations. Pretty important. You get the idea? I would also like to invite you to think that if you could bring your focus of attention to what's important to you in the day, like what we're talking about, better health, better resilience, more presence, attention, intention. So focus on your health as a purposeful attention, but then have the intention to improve your health or your responses in any of the situations which may be problematic for you. And then finally, no tension. Drain the stress out. So it's attention, intention, no tension. Everything I've been showing you here is really about staying present to the amazing resources that are within you. I'd also like to share with you a story about Michael J. Fox. You know, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he was on the cover of the magazine. After 26 years with Parkinson, he's working, laughing, and defying the odds. And when asked what are his rules for surviving adversity, he said, exercise. We've learned it will prolong your ability to operate positively in the world. Number 2, pacing. You know, helps me to think, pace myself. Number 3, acceptance. It isn't resignation, it's acceptance, it's embracing. Remember I talked about the triple welcoming? Honesty. Don't remain silent or ashamed about illness. Once Fox went public with his condition, he says, it was empowering to have people understand what I was going through. I immediately felt better, he said. Next, optimism. I hate when people say, you're giving them false hope. I'll talk about that in another session. To me, hope is informed optimism. Don't you love that? Hope is informed optimism. And finally, humor. I laugh at my involuntary movements and the scenes they create. These are times when I love these things. So really embracing the feeling of humor, very powerful. Now, I wanted to finish with this idea of having a daily routine. I do have one. When I wake up in the morning, I use the restroom and brush my teeth. I go out into the kitchen. I create yin-yang water. It's half boiled, half fresh spring water. I have that, let my system start to take that in, and then I go and I do a yoga practice. First, some hatha yoga, and then I sit. The total amount of time for the practice varies. If I include my physical, which is 20 to 25 minutes, and my sitting meditation could be anywhere from 3 minutes to 40 minutes. It just depends on the moment, the time that I have available. But I can tell you this, I never, ever, ever, ever allow myself to miss this time. It's very rare that I would not wake up early to make sure that I get that in. Now, in addition to that, I also exercise. I belong to a health club, and so I do some resistance training on Monday, and I do swimming as a cardiovascular on Wednesdays. I have been doing yoga classes on Friday. I haven't been doing those more recently. It's just a more intensive hot yoga. But in addition to that, I'll find time to ride my bike in good weather, and I'll for sure go on walks in nature. Being in nature, we live close to lakes here in Minnesota. It's a wonderful thing. So consider what your daily routine is. It would be helpful for you to make sure that you're getting what you need. So finishing up, next steps that you can take, paraliminals for sure. Here's one woman who talked about moving from anxiety to success and positive relationships. She said, being filled with anxiety had me stuck and unable to see a way out of the prison I had built for myself. Once I could really overcome a major fear, I didn't want to stop there. And the freedom she experienced and the accomplishments that followed are really inspiring. Anxiety-free changed her life. With it, she changed the pictures being played at the unconscious level of her mind, which led to an immediate and long-lasting change. As she puts it, I found I had lost several of the fears that I was consistently dealing with. Another woman said, I have used paraliminals to overcome anxiety in public speaking situations. They have helped me relax and sleep more deeply. I have overcome some health issues after listening to some of the paraliminals. My 13-year-old son loves to listen to them also, and she's from Anchorage, Alaska. Here's a note from someone said, I have really found paraliminals to be a very effective tool in the emotional healing process of my life. I've been suffering with insomnia now for almost 3 years. And I have to honestly say that I am sleeping more soundly and peacefully for a longer period of time. I'm delighted because I know how important adequate sleep is for the mind and body. I really enjoy paraliminal listening. We're going to have a session on sleep coming up very soon. So let's review some of the key paraliminals that I would recommend for the topic that we've been playing with. The letting go and fresh start we talked about. Anxiety-free was another one we talked about. Overcoming overwhelm. So those are the 4 that I've really referenced in our topic here about finding mental and emotional balance in your life. In addition, we have the gratitude paraliminal, the new history generator, especially if you've experienced traumas in your life. The belief paraliminal, very powerful, instantaneous personal magnetism. Happy for no reason, which I did with Marcy Shimoff, best-selling author. Break the habit. If you have a habit of engaging in behaviors that aren't supporting you emotionally or mentally, good one. Another one, especially around the holiday season, is called holiday cheer. So we're going to be heading into our next session coming up, and our next session is about finding and maintaining your ideal weight. Let's take a moment just to drop in with our understanding of all of the material we've been gaining so far. Take a deep breath in. Gently exhale and close your eyes. Let your shoulders relax as you bring your awareness to the space your body is occupying. Relaxing your forehead, face, get that slight hint of a smile. Feel the touch of that breath in your nostrils. You are peaceful right now. You are calm. You're safe. You feel good. What is it that you can feel grateful about in your life right now? And as you think about the small next steps you're going to choose to take as a result of our time together, what will be different in the coming day? What one small step to implement and take action on the ideas we've been playing with, or will you choose to take action upon? See yourself doing that and imagine yourself enjoying the benefits of having done so. In other words, go to the future where you've already seen the successful implementation of that which you desire. Enjoying the rewards or benefits of having done so. Carry that with you as you once again become aware of yourself in the present. Aware of yourself from head to toe, relaxed, alert, at peace. Rub your hands together. Bring your hands to your eyes. Open your eyes to the palms of your hands. Slowly draw your hands away from your face into the room around you. Thanks very much. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next session.